Show coming live, aka.com. Dirty money coming soon.
Train like Costamado, ganja plant, recline low, black Milano, bless God, feeling kosher, one in the top of the toaster, proper kosher. My gun is popping a holster, dumb quick, chasing my dick, made a bum bitch rich, stale fish, hurt you naked in jail flicks. Mama Cedar, Black Widow, turn to be a backseater, satin pillows, a pimp striss and willow, cooking my blowing head slow, ice swelling, dishonored the grain. I gotta split my wife melon so I can see the 7 seas of my circumference. Beaver lunged it, polishing pistols like a gunsmith. Clever, my mama told me take cheddar by slugs or drugs. Whatever, calculate better when cake's measured. Lock the front door secure. See the gleaming white crystal when it's pure. I made it like that, I bought it like that, I'm living like that. Street rules and jewels to help teach a hungry crew. I made it like that.
Rest in peace, Big Stretch. Coming soon.
I made it like that, I bought it like that, I'm living like that. In the world of the monkey see, monkey do. I made it like that, I bought it like that, I'm living like that. You whack MC. Yeah, fuck the snake holes and jealous ass niggas that smash your Benz windows. Detecting fake niggas signals, yo. Live niggas get it too. Scaring rappers like the Fed Tom Gotti was acquitted to. Bloodshot, red eyes high, yellow envelopes a lie. Opening cigars, lit tobacco fly, kicks matching my shit, my gun on. Thinking of names for my man's unborn.
Stop.
Rican rum on. Imaginary braids, put my hat on my waist. Latter-day Saints scream religious praise. Heat graze the baby, yo. Foul shit made a welfare mom crazy. More bodies drop by the ratio. Pace is slow, grisly thoughts for making dough. Haitian bitch cast a spell on my life for cash flow. So now it's on, never wasted a slug. Time is money when it comes to mine, take it in blood. I made it like that, I bought it like that, I'm living like that. Street rules and jewels to help teach a hungry crew. I made it like that, I bought it like that, I'm living like that. You whack MC, I made it like that, I bought it like that, I'm living like that. In the world of the monkey see, monkey do. I made it like that, I bought it like that, I'm living like that. Yeah, you whack MC. Yeah, foggy and shit, trees lit up everywhere. It's like that dick, know what I mean? Executive class material, most official Queens representative on the motherfucking jit on. This is how it's going down. Sun up, sundown. Put your gun down, nigga. Running this shit, what?
Can't forget Soul Records.
Top of the world, baby.
Nah, stop. Mr. Freeze Records.
We Japanese still. You can cook in front of your family like a Japanese meal. It's y'all shoot the hibachi and none of you niggas can stop me. But can't help but watch me. So look, bro. Man, I was supposed to do this shit yesterday, man. I fucking didn't get home from work like 10 something. But Sean had showed me a clip from Ron Dalton in a debate between Dustin and Nemos. So from my understanding, these two guys, these two Israelites, whatever, you got a white British European Israelite versus a black African American Israelite. They both clashing with pseudoscience and pseudo understanding of things. So we're gonna review the clip tonight, man. Forgive me if my energy is not high tonight, man. I'm tired. But yeah, we're gonna review what's being said and go over a few of the misconceptions that I was made privy to. And yeah, we're gonna review this debate, man. Everybody want to be Israelites, man. This is crazy, bro. Just you take your DNA or whatever, you find out your ancestry. Just be happy with who you are, man. Why we gotta stretch the truth? You know what I'm saying? Y'all putting a lot of water in that Kool-Aid, bro. Trying to make that shit stretch, nigga. If you from where I'm from, you put that little water in the chili, trying to make the chili stretch. And the spaghetti, you trying to make everything stretch, man. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to do that. Just be proud of who you are and your ancestry. We ain't got to make these long leaps in faith, long leaps in logic, lapsing, you know, all these weird ass beliefs and stuff that we fall into because we find some online guru that is claiming to be a part of this ancestral people or these famous people, and everybody's trying to connect themselves to that person or whatnot, man. Everybody's ancestry is unique. Everybody's ancestry played a role in some shape, form, or fashion. Just be happy with who you descend from. We don't have to go and invoke all of these fake ass ancestries, man. We don't have to say that we were Indian chiefs, or we were Kemetic priests and kings or Israelites and none of that shit, man. We don't have to do that, bro. It's 2024, bro. Technology is advancing. We're able to study our ancestry now, and we got a grasp of things. We got a better grasp of things than those that came before us. So let's take advantage of that. So we're gonna go over some of these things that I was made privy of in this debate, man. It's just a pseudo fest, if you will. So let's get into it. I ain't gonna hold y'all up too long this evening. Put the fair use. We are covered under Section 107 of the Copyright Act. So we are covered under that, and we're able to give our criticism and our commentary on the following clips. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Okay. All right. So yeah, we want to start about the hour and 8-minute marker. If I get some more free time, we might do a deep dive on this whole debate and get my commentary and thoughts on it, man. You know how I feel about these identitarians, these people that stretch the truth. There's a saying: you give a nigga an inch, he'll take a mile, and that's what Ron Dalton has done. And if you have we read his, portions of his book on my channel. If you have seen the crazy, nonsensical garbage that comes from his book, I mean, he's talking about teleportation devices, underneath, the Sphinx in Egypt. He's just going all over the place, man. He's trying to connect Negritos to, Dravidian people to Bantu people. Like, he makes a lot of wild assertions and claims. Dustin Nemos, the little bit I know about him, he makes a lot of wild assertions and claims as well. He's anti-Jew. He quotes Iran El-Hike. He says some things about sub-Saharan Africans having archaic ancestry and saying that they are the only group to have it, which is not true. So we're going to go over some of these things, man. Both these dudes are pseudo as hell. And, Ron Dalton, you might just be a little bit more pseudo with the Starship Enterprise doctrine you got. You believing in Nubaru and Nibiru and all that on your Dr. York shit. You know what I'm saying? Anyway.
In these schools. Now, as I said, Africans were barely trafficked compared to white kids, including the transatlantic slave trade. Period. Whites have suffered far more slavery than blacks, period, over all of human history, including American history. And the Hollow Hoax never happened. Cool story, though. And by the way, Jews are not white. The Hollow Hoax, that's not one of the, that's nothing to do with us, the real whites who've been genocided and burnt and destroyed.
See, you call it the Hollow Hoax? So he denying the Holocaust. This is the white dude speaking, Dustin Nemos. He's speaking these words right now. And some of you guys have repeated these words. I remember ISUBK used to say certain things like that and spread certain rumors like that. All of it's pseudo. All of it is against empirical evidence and what is actually established and cemented in history, right? But, you can see some of the similarities between both parties. They both don't like Jewish people. They both are prejudiced towards Jewish people, and they discredit Jewish people.
Repeatedly, we can go through multiple examples like Dresden, the Holodomor, the burning of Rome, Chicago, and London twice, etc. The Jews, the deep state, they hate whites. They don't hate blacks. They love blacks, and they want to get together with them and get whitey, like whatever that SNL, whatever late night, John, whatever, I forget, TV. Anyway, it was a famous guy who said it.
John Stewart.
Yeah, John Stewart.
John Leibovitz was his Jewish name before he changed it to Stewart.
Yeah. Anyway, so back into my thread on there. I'm going to start with the genetics aspect on claim 2, the traditional evidence, by the way, all traditional evidence, genetics, anthropology, etymology, archaeology, archaeogenetics, etc.
Hey, and Dustin, real quick, I just wanted to jump in just to add. Now this is. And I just want to try and critique points that I hear made that I think might be worth questioning. According to statista.com, and I'll share the link here in the nest, but looking over the population number to suggest there were hundreds of millions of slaves brought out of Africa, I think if you were to look at the estimated population of each continent from 10,000 BCE to 2000 CE, Rana, for what it's worth, that the numbers in terms of total African continental populations would not support the notion of hundreds of millions of people being removed. And so I just want to bring that up as a perspective point of contention, because it sounded like a number that probably was too high to be reasonable and realistic. So I just looked into it, and it certainly would appear to be based on their numbers. So that's statista.com. I'm not vouching for that website. I frankly can't, because I don't know much about it, but it seems like that claim can't be remotely correct.
And I want to repeat, according to a Black historian, Thomas Sowell, who I respect very much, more whites were brought to Africa than Africans to America. Again, now going into the genetics, kind of back to the point of who the true Israelites are. DNA research science from Dr. Aaron L. Hayek, who is a Jew, admits, and his associates at the McKusick-Nathans Institute of Genetic Medicine at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine have confirmed that, quote, 97% of the 17 million of the world's Jews are not descendants of Abraham, end quote. So we know it's not them. I just want to throw that out there and get into the actual genetics of this.
This could be the biggest mistake you could make in your life. Look at this check for
Making money, y'all. They making money off this. Hold on.
They also did this genome.
So y'all heard what he just said, man. I told you, y'all, WHI and WHI think alike. They think alike. They're the same, man. They about to 1, 2, 3 jinx each other, bro. You heard what he said. He went straight to Aaron Hill Hike and tried to discredit and demarcate over 97% of the Jewish population said they are not Israelites, they're not real Jews. He just made that claim. You know what I'm saying? Which we know the BHI make the same goddamn claim. But the whole purpose of that is, like I've always brought up before in prior shows and prior episodes, the purpose of him saying that is, if I eliminate, this is the thinking. If I eliminate their legitimacy, I bolster my own. That's why black Hebrew Israelites do it, and that's why white Hebrew Israelites do it. It got to be one or the other. They create a black and white fallacy. Anyway, where are we at? The 11 minute. Okay, let's go back a little bit so you can hear that again.
Can't be remotely correct.
And I want to repeat, according to a Black historian, Thomas Sowell, who I respect very much, more whites were brought to Africa than Africans to America. Again, now going into the genetics, kind of back to the point of who the true Israelites are. DNA research science from Dr. Aaron L. Hayek, who is a Jew, admits, and his associates at the McKusick-Nathans Institute of Genetic Medicine at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine have confirmed that, quote, 97% of the 17 million of the world's Jews are not descendants of Abraham, end quote. So we know it's not them. I just want to throw that out there and get into the actual genetics of this. They also did this genome-wide diversity study in the Levant, revealing the secrets basically behind the genetics there. Quote, Levant populations today fall into two main groups, one sharing more genetic characteristics with modern day Europeans and Central Asians, and the other with closer genetic affinities to other Middle Easterners and Africans. And quote, we reconstructed the genetic structure of the Levantines and found that a pre-Islamic expansion Levant was more genetically similar to Europeans than to Middle Easterners, end quote. We have studies, for example, the headline here, DNA study finds early inhabitants of Israel were blue-eyed and fair-skinned. Again, there's that word fair, with blue eyes, once again, just like those mummies were depicted in the ancient statues, all blue-eyed. Geneticists compared the mitochondrial DNA from blue-eyed individuals in countries as diverse as Jordan, Denmark, and Turkey, concluding that people with blue eyes have a single common ancestor that lived by the Black Sea about a couple thousand years ago and spread out with agriculture. They're everywhere from Pakistan to India to Iran to Afghanistan to Europe, etc. Now, present-day sub-Saharan Africans trace up to 19% of their genetic ancestry to an extinct archaic hominid species, Homo erectus or Homo habilis, that is not found in the DNA of present-day Asians or Caucasians.
So he's just galloping right now for the audience to know everything he just said. He made several claims. And the last claim is what's intriguing. But you hear a lot of white racists and white online skinheads and white Klan members online and Wi-Fi Klan members, they will repeat this over and over again, that sub-Saharan Africans are the only group to have archaic DNA, which is wrong. Neanderthal DNA is archaic DNA. It's just that the DNA that they found with sub-Saharan Africans, which is from a ghost population, we don't know what hominid species or what particular hominid that group that provided that DNA came from. We don't know. So that's not true. And that same source was found in Europeans and Chinese people as well, which he just said it wasn't because he's quoting an article or some shit. Just because y'all read something from an article does not mean that article itself is infallible. Zaryahu says Iran El-Hike study literally says our findings support the Khazarian hypothesis to portray European Jewish genome as a mosaic of Near Eastern, Caucasus, European, and Semitic ancestries. Yeah. So, but even with Aaron El-Hike, even if he's misrepresenting Aaron El-Hike is kind of terrible. But good point, brother. Good point. So yeah, man, he just made that claim. So I want to show y'all something real quick. They always go to this claim. I don't know what this has to do with Hebrew Israelites. It has zero to do with Hebrew Israelites. All humans have some kind of relic, autosomes or DNA in their genome from older hominids. I mean, this should be known. So let me go to that article. 19%. Ghost population. Just type in ghost population, West Africans. It'll pop up. I'm just gonna highlight something, man. Because remember, he said it's only found in Africans, no one else, not Europeans and not Asians. And in his mind, and in his made-up world that he has in his mind, that's why I be telling brothers, I be telling people, listen, man. Y'all want to argue the world you made up in your head. In his mind, that means that's a disqualifying characteristic. If you have this archaic genome, right? If you have this archaic genome, then you're automatically disqualified from any claim. Today, they're arguing about Israelites. This don't have nothing to do with whether or not you are or not an Israelite. This just has something to do with, modern humans, modern Homo sapiens sapien retaining DNA from older humans, or early humans, or archaic humans. So I don't get the correlation, but I guess to be pseudo, the point is to obfuscate and confuse and not be straightforward at all. I'm trying to find this article on science because I want to read the population that also had it. Oh, here it is. I'll just read from physics.org. So we'll share this tab here. Ghost DNA found in some West African peoples. You see there, Neanderthal, Denisovian, and then we have a ghost population that made DNA that made their way into some West African populations at 2 to 19%. We don't know what type of hominid this is. Don't know. So that's why, hence it's called a ghost. It says a team of researchers at the University of California has found evidence of ghost DNA in some modern West African people. In their paper published in the journal Science Advances, the group describes their study of genetic samples collected from the Yoruba and Mende groups and what they found. Prior research has shown that approximately 800,000 years ago, two groups of hominids diverged from a common ancestor. They have become known as Denisovians and Neanderthals. In this new effort, the researchers have found evidence to suggest prior group split off from the same common ancestor 200,000 years ago. So that's all it's saying. This has nothing to do with the Israelite claim. Why even bring this up? Why even bring this up, man? This is just, they really not even humans. So why? No, West Africans are humans. And guess what? Denisovian, Neanderthal, and these archaic hominids, they're humans too. They're early archaic humans. We all fucking humans. So, it just blows my mind, man. The mind of a racist. It says the researchers were studying the lineages of the Yoruba of southwestern Nigeria and the Mindi people of Sierra Leone. The researchers found some non-modern human DNA in samples that led them to compare the non-human segments to Denisovan Neanderthal DNA. When they found no match, the researchers were forced to conclude that the DNA was from a common ancestor that diverged over 1 million years ago. Since no fossils of this other ancestor have ever been found, the researchers dubbed their genetic remnants ghost DNA. Further study of the gene snippets showed that they were introduced into modern human genomes approximately 24,000 years ago. The researchers also found that the percentage of the ghost DNA in the Yoruba and Mende people ranged from 2 to 19%, and those genes were of a type that would have been involved in suppressing tumors and regulating hormones. Due to the percentages found in modern humans, it appears likely that they spread quickly, which indicates widespread interbreeding with West African people for a short time. The team also found evidence of the same DNA in a few people of Han Chinese descent living in Beijing and some Westerners living in the U.S., but those cases have not yet been studied more closely. So again, the DNA wasn't just found in West African people. If you actually read the study, in which I wanted to bring the study up, it tells you about people of Central European ancestry having it. Those are the people living in the United States. And people of Han Chinese descent having it as well. It says the researchers plan to continue the study of the ghost genes, hoping to learn more about their role in the genome and why they persisted so well in West African people for such long of a period of time. So again, it's not just West Africans that have this. They found it in the Han Chinese, and they also found it in people of Central European ancestry living in the United States. So he was wrong. He was just completely wrong. And you're right, Azariah, both sides try to humanize the other. Both sides do this, right? We've already seen several videos where we went over with Ron Dalton's alien claim and serpent seed claim for white people, and other groups as well. He believes that aliens came down in the 11th century, created the Chinese people, and intermixed with Sun people. He believes that. It is about the dehumanization, right? Which is some eugenics bullshit, bro, that they're arguing, which has nothing to do with the price of tea in China. Why are we even talking about this in a debate about whether or not you are an Israelite or not? Why? Because all these things stem on racism. He also pointed out the white skin and the blue eyes of some individuals that lived in the Levant, but you also had people that lived in the Levant that were dark skinned. Because he just rambled out a bunch of things. This is what we call gish galloping and pettifogging, instead of just explicating each point and explaining to the audience what each point means and being thorough and breaking stuff down. You want to just ramble off a bunch of shit to make it seem as if, yeah, what he's saying is right. But yes, you got to examine these things. So yes, there is evidence that there are white-skinned, blue-eyed people in the Middle East during the Chalcolithic. But does that mean those white-skinned people that lived there in the Chalcolithic, which is before the Israelites, this is the Copper Age. Israelites come after the Middle Bronze Age. And they're really an Iron Age people. When we start really learning about and seeing Israelites in the world scene, it's an Iron Age period where we're starting to see the Israelites in their formative years. But with that being stated, sure, there were white people in the Middle East. We bring them out all the time. There were people that were very light-skinned and blue eyes. But that does not automatically mean every white person or every person with blue eyes or every white person with blue eyes somehow descends from these Middle Easterners that had that same feature. Y'all got that bad. Y'all do that. Y'all do black Hebrew Israelites do that. Oh, there's an image of a black person that's saying in southern Italy, oh, those my ancestors. How do you know this? You're just saying it and you're making the claim off of the dark skin. Cheddar man being dark skin and blue eyes. Oh, that's your ancestor now? Phenotype is not a DNA test, bro. Just because someone might match the same coloration of skin gradation, the same, maybe have a similar morphology as you, does not, equate to, and that's what it is. It's a false equivocation fallacy. It does not equate to them being your ancestors or your ancient relatives. It does not equate to that at all. Dark skin does not mean common heritage or common ancestry where you which denotes that you directly descend. That trait you might share that trait, but that doesn't mean you directly descend from that group. So just pointing out some people that lived during the Chalcolithic period, during the Copper Age in Israel or in the Levant, does not mean anything. And we know the haplogroups of these people. We know the genetic composition of these people. Most of those people that were found in that Peking cave during the Chalcolithic period, they had haplogroup T, which is a rare haplogroup amongst the other haplogroups. It's in Europe, but it's rare, right? We know it's in Europe. We know it's in the Middle East, in the Near East, and we know it's in the Horn, in several North African places. It even made its way down into Cameroon and other surrounding West African polities. And this is why I tell people, you can, just because someone's from West Africa don't mean they're the same either. There's different groups there that come together and form a mosaic. We're more of a mosaic than a homogenous unit. But hard heads make soft asses. So, y'all know how that go. Let's go back. And let's rewind that so we can define that.
That's not one of the. That's nothing to do with us, the real whites who've been genocided and burnt and destroyed repeatedly. We can go through multiple examples like Dresden, the Holodomor, the burning of Rome, Chicago, and London twice, etc. The Jews, the deep state, they hate whites. They don't hate blacks. They love blacks, and they want to get together with them and get whitey, like whatever that SNL, whatever late night, John, whatever, I forget, TV. Anyway, it was a famous guy who said it.
John Stewart.
Yeah, John Stewart.
John Leibovitz was his Jewish name before he changed it to Stewart.
Yeah. Anyway, so back into my thread on there. I'm going to start with the genetics aspect on claim 2, the traditional evidence, by the way, all traditional evidence, genetics, anthropology, etymology, archaeology, archaeogenetics, etc.
Hey, and Dustin, real quick, I just wanted to jump in just to add. Now this is, and I just want to try and critique points that I hear made that I think might be worth questioning. According to Statista.com, and I'll share the link here in the nest. But looking over the population number to suggest there were hundreds of millions of slaves brought out of Africa, I think if you were to look at the estimated population of each continent from 10,000 BCE to 2000 CE, Ronald, for what it's worth, that the numbers in terms of total African continental populations would not support the notion of hundreds of millions of people being removed. And so I just want to bring that up as a perspective point of contention, because it sounded like a number that probably was too high to be reasonable and realistic. So I just looked into it, and it certainly would appear to be based on their numbers. So that's Statista.com. I'm not vouching for that website. I frankly can't, because I don't know much about it. But it seems like that claim can't be remotely correct.
And I want to repeat, according to a black historian, Thomas Sowell, who I respect very much, more whites were brought to Africa than Africans to America. Again, now going into the genetics, kind of back to the point of who the true Israel.
Let's tackle that claim, and I got to read what was actually said by Thomas Sowell. So this is not going to be geared towards Thomas Sowell, but to him, because it's not true at all. 12.5 million African slaves were involved in the slave trade. And I think only 1.3 million, I just looked it up, whites were enslaved in North Africa. So it can't even be compared. Maybe you say, oh, well, all those 12.5 million that were transported didn't actually make it to America. Maybe that's what he's talking about. Okay. I'm reading here, 10 million made it over here. Because, some people died. Even 10 million is great. I don't even get the point. I don't even know why people have these, what do they call it? Oppression Olympics. What is even the point of saying, oh, yeah, white people are more oppressed? Yeah, white people were being enslaved in Europe by other Europeans and other groups and like the Ottomans and stuff prior to the transatlantic slave trade. But this claim that more whites were sent to Africa than slaves to America is just patently false. This is patently false. Like, okay, so this is from the Guardian here. I mean, anybody can just easily debunk this shit. Just look this shit up and read. You know, some people want to argue and send videos. No. Go fucking read. Just go read and learn a little bit. Like, wow, you guys are allergic to studying. Slavery wasn't only for Africans. This is Roy Garden Weekly. North African pirates abducted and enslaved more than 1 million Europeans between 1530 and 1780 in a series of raids that depopulated coastal towns from Sicily to Cornwall. According to new research, thousands of white Christians were seized every year to work as galley slaves, laborers, and concubines for Muslim overlords in what is today Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, and Libya. It is claimed. Scholars have long known of slave raids on Europe, but U.S. historian Robert Davis has calculated the total number of captured, although small compared with what? The 12 million Africans shipped to the Americans in later years, was far higher than previously recognized. So no, it's not more white people going to North Africa than black people are African or black Africans going to the Americas. This was just a false statement. And maybe I need to read the statement of Thomas Sowell in context, because maybe he wasn't making that claim. Maybe them taking that snippet out, took it out of context, but I don't know. This is my first time of me hearing that Thomas Sowell made a statement like that. The present day, the United States. If he meant the United States, well, that's different. If he just means the United States or North America, then that's different. But what I just heard from his mouth, let's go back to the video. Thank you, Vernon. Thank you, Vernon, because what he just said didn't make no sense.
Of hundreds of millions of people being removed. And so I just want to bring that up as a perspective point of contention, because it sounded like a number that probably was too high to be reasonable and realistic. So I just real quick, I just wanted to jump in just to add now.
First of all, Jews would never, ever, ever teach that whites were punished, enslaved, etc. They prefer to teach blacks are victims of whites, along with every other fake government position that they teach in these schools. Now, as I said, Africans were barely trafficked compared to white kids, including the transatlantic slave trade. Period. Whites have suffered far more slavery than blacks, period, over all of human history, including American history. And the hollow hoax never happened. Cool story, though.
See that? See how he tries to, white people have, in general, have suffered more than blacks in slavery. And he's using this metric of white people being enslaved in North Africa. Well, and then he quotes, let's get to the next part where he paraphrases it.
By the way, Jews are not white. The hollow hoax, that's not that's nothing to do with us, the real whites who've been genocided and burnt and destroyed repeatedly. We can go through multiple examples like Dresden, the Holodomor, the burning of Rome, Chicago, and London twice, etc. The Jews, the deep state, they hate whites. They don't hate blacks. They love blacks, and they want to get together with them and get whitey, like whatever that SNL, whatever late night, John, whatever, I forget, TV. Anyway, it was a famous guy who said it.
John Stewart.
Yeah, John Stewart.
John Leibovitz was his Jewish name before he changed it to Stewart.
Yeah. Anyway, so back into my thread on there. I'm going to start with the genetics aspect on claim 2, the traditional evidence, by the way, all traditional evidence, genetics, anthropology, etymology, archaeology, archaeogenetics, etc.
And Dustin, real quick, I just wanted to jump in just to add. Now this is, and I just want to try and critique points that I hear made that I think might be worth questioning. According to Statista.com, and I'll share the link here in the nest. But looking over the population number to suggest there were hundreds of millions of slaves brought out of Africa, I think if you were to look at the estimated population of each continent from 10,000 BCE to 2000 CE, Ronald, for what it's worth, that the numbers in terms of total African continental populations would not support the notion of hundreds of millions of people being removed. And so I just want to bring that up as a perspective point of contention, because it sounded like a number that probably was too high to be reasonable and realistic. So I just looked into it, and it certainly would appear to be based on their numbers. So that's statista.com. I'm not vouching for that website. I frankly can't, because I don't know much about it, but it seems like that claim can't be remotely correct.
And I want to repeat, according to a Black historian, Thomas Sowell, who I respect very much, more whites were brought to Africa than Africans to America. Again, now going into the genetics, kind of back to the point of who the true Israelites are. DNA research science from Dr. Aaron L. Hayek, who is a Jew, admits, and his associates at the McKusick-Nathans Institute of Genetic Medicine at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine have confirmed that, quote, 97% of the 17 million of the world's Jews are not descendants of Abraham, end quote. So we know it's not them. I just want to throw that out there and get into the actual genetics of this. They also did this genome-wide diversity study in the Levant, revealing the secrets basically behind the genetics there. Quote, Levant populations today fall into two main groups, one sharing more genetic characteristics with modern-day Europeans and Central Asians, and the other with closer genetic affinities to other Middle Easterners and Africans. And quote, we reconstructed the genetic structure of the Levantines and found that a pre-Islamic expansion in Levant was more genetically similar to Europeans than to Middle Easterners, end quote. We have studies, for example, the headline here, DNA study finds early inhabitants of Israel were blue-eyed and fair-skinned. Again, there's that word fair, with blue eyes, once again, just like those mummies were depicted in the ancient statues, all blue-eyed. Geneticists compared the mitochondrial DNA from blue-eyed individuals in countries as diverse as Jordan, Denmark, and Turkey, concluding that people with blue eyes have a single common ancestor that lived by the Black Sea about a couple thousand years ago and spread out with agriculture. They're everywhere from Pakistan to India to Iran to Afghanistan to Europe, etc. Now, present-day sub-Saharan Africans trace up to 19% of their genetic ancestry to an extinct archaic hominid species, Homo erectus or Homo habilis, that is not found in the DNA of present-day Asians or Caucasians. This is from science.org, the study Recovering Signals of Ghost Archaic Introgression African Populations. Now, in terms of haplogrouping, this is a very important point. It's a little complicated, so I'm going to try to go slow. Let me get some water. Okay. Now, all true descendants of Israel would be of the exact same haplogroup. Males carry an unchanged Y chromosome from the patrilineal or paternal line, as Ron mentioned earlier, that's kept by the father's side in the actual Torah, which Jews do not do. That genetically remains unchanged throughout time. This line from your fathers to you is unchanged. It's your people's story. Yet all the self-proclaimed Israelites, Black and Jew alike, both Hamitic cousins, are actually non-homogeneous in their haplogroups, unlike true Israelites. So you can follow along with the charts at the haplogrouping post in the thread above.
Hey, man, I've been letting it play because I've been looking into this Thomas Sowell quote. I want to know where it came from, Vernon Robinson, about more, because the quote I got was this one. And I wonder if it's in that book that I have. Someone asked about this quote to see if it was legit on Stack Exchange. It said more whites were brought as slaves to North Africa than blacks brought as slaves to the United States or to the 13 colonies from which it was formed. White slaves were still being brought and sold in the Ottoman Empire decades after blacks were freed in the United States. If this was indeed said by Thomas Sowell, that would be factual, because North Africa, a large swath of land, they would have a million and a half white slaves imported there, and about 450,000 blacks to the United States. But that's just the United States. This guy's claim, what's his name? Dustin Nemos. Let me get my notepad so I start writing down everything he says. His claim is that whites suffered more than blacks in general. And then he used this quote to say, see, there were more white slaves in North Africa, or more whites sent to North Africa as slaves than blacks or Africans sent to the Americas. That was his word. That is false. That's false. 12 million were shipped. About 10 million made it to the Americas. So his claim that, this oppression in the Olympics everybody wants to do with that example is patently false. There's no way around it. This is the quote that was attributed to Thomas Sowell, what is believed to actually been said. But if Vernon, if you can provide me the book that this came from, did this come from white liberals and black rednecks? Because I have that book. And I know he does a chapter on slavery. I'll look it up, but I got to talk about some of these genetic claims he made too, man. Yeah, the real whites. We the real whites. Jews are the fake whites. You know, so I'm gonna rewind it, y'all. Rewind this, man. I'm gonna rewind that so we can define that. Let's go back. Oh, I'm tired of watching this thing.
Yeah, John Stewart.
John Leibovitz was his Jewish name before he changed it to Stewart.
Yeah. Anyway, so back into my thread on there. I'm going to start with the genetics aspect.
Or can say even come close to what Black people, the Bantu people, have suffered at the hands of Arabs and white people and Jews. So
I guess Ron Dalton started this argument while saying we suffered more, and he was like, no, actually we suffered more. Like this became a damn, oppression Olympic real fast, man.
For 400 years and even longer for the Arab slave trade.
If I may resume my points, I've added a few. First of all, Jews would never, ever, ever teach that whites were punished, enslaved, etc. They prefer to teach blacks are victims of whites, along with every other fake government position that they teach in these schools. Now, as I said, Africans were barely trafficked compared to white kids, including the transatlantic slave trade. Period. Whites have suffered far more slavery than...
You heard them? They were barely trafficked. 12.5 million people being trafficked from the continent of Africa to the Americas. And that's just to the Americas. That's not including the other areas that black slaves went to, like the Zanzibar slaves and stuff like that. We're not even including that. We're just talking about from Africa to Americas at it's 12.5 million. And he's trying to say, oh, it pales in comparison to the white plight. Well, I tell you, man.
And blacks, period, over all of human history, including American history. And the Hollow Hoax never happened. Cool story, though. And by the way, Jews are not white. The Hollow Hoax, that's not one of the, that's nothing to do with us, the real whites who've been genocided and burnt and destroyed repeatedly. We can go through multiple examples like Dresden, the Holodomor, the burning of Rome, Chicago, and London twice, etc. The Jews, the deep state, they hate whites. They don't hate blacks. They love blacks, and they want to get together with them and get whitey, like whatever that SNL, whatever late night, John, whatever, I forget, TV. Anyway, it was a famous guy who said it.
John Stewart.
Yeah, John Stewart.
John Leibovitz was his Jewish name before he changed it to Stewart.
Yeah. Anyway, so back into my thread on there. I'm going to start with the genetics aspect on claim 2, the traditional evidence, by the way, all traditional evidence, genetics, anthropology, etymology, archaeology, archaeogenetics, etc.
And Dustin, real quick, I just wanted to jump in just to add. Now this is, and I just want to try and critique points that I hear made that I think might be worth questioning. According to Statista.com, and I'll share the link here in the nest. But looking over the population number to suggest there were hundreds of millions of slaves brought out of Africa, I think if you were to look at the estimated population of each continent from 10,000 BCE to 2000 CE, Ronald,
this is why I like to rewind this over and over and over again. This is why I like to rewind it, because at the end of the day, listen to what he just said. No one's making a claim that 100 million Africans came from Africa as slaves to the Americas. Where the hell he get that from? Vernon says, I found the video where Thomas Sowell said it on YouTube. It's an interview he gave. Not sure the book though. Okay, what's the title? Copy and paste the title in the chat for me, brother, and I'll pull it up here in a minute. This is why I like rewinding things, man. I like to comb through shit, man. I know y'all like microwave shit. Y'all want to just go through it fast like that. Nah, I need to really dissect what these niggas is saying right now.
For what it's worth, that the numbers in terms of total African continental populations would not support the notion of hundreds of millions of people being removed. And so I just want to bring that up as a perspective point of contention, because it sounded like a number that probably was too high to be reasonable and realistic. So I just looked into it, and it certainly would appear to be based on their numbers. So that's Statista.com. I'm not vouching for that website. I frankly can't, because I don't know much about it. But it seems like that claim can't be remotely correct.
And I want to repeat, according to a black historian, Thomas Sowell, who I respect very much, more whites were brought to Africa than Africans to America. Again, now going into the genetics, kind of back to
Yeah, see, that's a lot different than what Vernon is saying that Thomas Sowell actually said. White slaves and Barbary slave trade exceed the number of Africans in the USA. Yeah, that's the United States of America. That's not the whole black plight. The entire black plight completely dwarfs the white plight, at least when it comes to slaves going to Africa versus slaves going to the Americas in the USA. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that, Vernon. Yeah, so he's completely wrong on that point.
To the point of who the true Israelites are. DNA research science from Dr. Aaron L. Hayek, who is a Jew, admits, and his associates at the McKusick-Nathans Institute of Genetic Medicine at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine have confirmed that, quote, 97% of the 17 million of the world's Jews are not descendants of Abraham, end quote. So we know it's not them. I just want to throw that out there and get into the actual genetics of this. They also did this genome-wide diversity study in the Levant, revealing the secrets basically behind the genetics there. Quote, Levant populations today fall into two main groups, one sharing more genetic characteristics with modern day Europeans and Central Asians, and the other with closer genetic affinities to other Middle Easterners and Africans. And quote, we reconstructed the genetic structure of the Levantines and found that a pre-Islamic expansion in Levant was more genetically similar to Europeans than to Middle Easterners, end quote. We have studies, for example, the headline here, DNA study finds early inhabitants of Israel were blue-eyed and fair-skinned. Again, there's that word fair, with blue eyes, once again, just like those mummies were depicted in the ancient statues, all blue-eyed. Geneticists compared the mitochondrial DNA from blue-eyed individuals in countries as diverse as Jordan, Denmark, and Turkey, concluding that people with blue eyes have a single common ancestor that lived by the Black Sea about a couple thousand years ago and spread out with agriculture. They're everywhere from Pakistan to India to Iran to Afghanistan to Europe, etc. Now, present-day sub-Saharan Africans trace up to 19% of their genetic ancestry to an extinct archaic hominid species, Homo erectus or Homo habilis, that is not found in the DNA of present-day Asians or Caucasians. This is from science.org, the study Recovering Signals of Ghost Archaic Introgression African Populations. Now, in terms of haplogrouping, this is a very important point. It's a little complicated, so I'm going to try to go slow.
So for everybody that just got on here and didn't hear me earlier, his claim about us or African people or sub-Saharan African groups, West African groups, we read earlier, is just completely false. Two ways it's false. We don't know what hominin those autosomes belong to. He just brought up Homo habilis and Homo erectus. None of the papers say that. It's ghost DNA. That's ghost DNA, and all humans have archaic human DNA, whether it be Neanderthal, Denisovian, or what have you. Now this new branch of hominin that we don't know. So this brother acting like he knows. He don't fucking know. This is what we call pontificate, just making up shit as you go, right? So that's completely wrong. And we read the article earlier. It's proven that, and also it's false. It's not only found within sub-Saharan African groups. It is also found amongst Han Chinese people, so Asians have it as well, and Central European people of Central European ancestry. Spitflame says only 4B African groups had the ghost DNA. Explain what you mean by 4B, brother. You lost me on that part right there. But it is some African groups. It's not all African groups, like he tried to make. The claim he tried to make. So yeah. Hold on, y'all. I gotta get my StreamYard right. Hold on. There we go.
Blow him to get some water. Okay. Now, all true descendants of Israel would be of the exact same haplogroup. Males carry an unchanged Y chromosome from the patrilineal.
I see what you're saying. You said only 4 African groups had it. Okay, yeah. I thought you were dropping some new little terminology or something, brother. I didn't know what you were saying.
Or paternal line, as Ron mentioned earlier, that is kept by the father's side in the actual Torah, which Jews do not do. That genetically remains unchanged throughout time. This line from your fathers to you is unchanged. It's your people's story. Yet all the self-proclaimed Israelites, Black and Jew alike, both Hamitic cousins, are actually non-homogeneous in their haplogroups, unlike true Israelites. So you can follow along with the charts at the haplogrouping post.
That is true, and I'll be telling y'all be making these claims. This is the only good point he had this whole motherfucking round. is that y'all claim that that all black people go back to one person or one group. That doesn't make any sense, because when we analyze the genomes of Black Americans, they have several different haplogroups. Several different haplogroups. Even if, like, okay, I'm E1B1A, but I'm the U290 branch. And that branch developed multiple branches. And those sub-branches develop more sub-branches. You understand what I'm saying? So you can have somebody that's E1B1A and be of the U174 branch. That's a whole different family. That's not U290, right? You got branches that split from the root of E1B1A, from V38. You got E1B1A2 in East Africa, right? I think they speak Amharic and a part of the Amharic culture. So just because you can have the same letter in your Y-DNA haplogroup classification and have E1B1A there, but doesn't mean we all descend from the same exact ancestors, because we got different branches. Yeah, we ultimately all go back to a man who carried the V38 chromosome or SNP first on his chromosome. That is true. But his children went out and had children and had subsequent generations, and they diversified, right? But even outside of that, even if you don't match the letter, now you're on a totally different branch of the family tree altogether. I'm trying to speak this plain so y'all get it. So when you look at African Americans, you got people with haplogroup A, B, R, T, I, G. You understand what I'm saying? R, and of course E, E1, B1B, E1A. So I just named about 7 or 8 different groups, just the major macro groups that are amongst African Americans. So therefore, African Americans cannot go back to just one source or one form of male ancestry. I'm about to debate this guy. I'm probably not, because he's probably not going to want to debate me, because he's not going to want to use reality and use facts. He's going to just use shit that's made up. He thinks all black people go back to Ham. This is impossible, because the Y chromosome that we possess have different signatures on it, meaning we come from different males. So we all can't go back to one fucking person. Humanity is more diversified than that. Y'all oversimplifying shit and adding Walt Disney and Pixar to the mix. That's the problem. So this is his only good point in this little 4-minute stretch that we've been watching and reviewing and combing through. Black people have a diversity of haplogroups, but here's the double-edged sword. White people do as well. They're not all R1B, they're R1A, they're haplogroup I, they're E. Some of them are E1B1B, and some of them even have E1B1A clades. Some of them have Senegalese ancestry, believe it or not. Some of them have haplogroup T, as discussed earlier, haplogroup J. So there's no homogeneous claim for white Americans or white Europeans as well. So the same applies both ways. Just because you're in a racial classification does not mean you're homogeneous, or everybody within that racial classification goes back to one single unit or one single person or one single male. And the reason why they want to make those claims, because they're trying to say we all come from Abraham or we all come from Noah or something. No, man, humanity is way more diverse than that. The human family tree has a variegation of branches, and too many branches to try to narrow it down to someone who lived in the Bronze Age, right? Or someone lived in the Middle Bronze Age, man. Stop this shit. Right, Azaryahu, every people group is an assortment of tribes who come together under a culture they don't understand that, though. Exactly. Y'all misconstrue a social structure or a classification like race or black or white, or a religious group like the Judeo-Christians or Jews, and you will look at that, oh, they got the same religion, they all the same. No, that don't mean nothing. That means zero, zilch, nada, bro. Terrible scholarship. Let's rewind that so we can define that, man.
Now, in terms of haplogrouping, this is a very important point. It's a little complicated, so I'm going to try to go slow. Let me get some water. Okay. Now, all true descendants of Israel would be of the exact same haplogroup. Males carry an unchanged Y chromosome from the patrilineal or paternal line, as Ron mentioned earlier, that's kept by the father's side in the actual Torah, which Jews do not do. That genetically remains unchanged throughout time. This line from your fathers to you is unchanged. It's your people's story. Yet all the self-proclaimed Israelites, black and Jew alike, both Hamitic cousins, are actually non-homogeneous in their haplogroups, unlike true Israelites. So you can follow along with the charts at the haplogrouping post in the thread above. The first one I put up there. There's two. So the first one, not the one with all the pictures of Irish kids suffering. And you can see charts that cover the Y chromosome of blacks and Jews. And you can see how they're non-homogeneous. That means they don't all come from the same father. They are what you could say is a decentralized parentage that is not all patrilineally related or lacks homogeneity in the chromosome. And it is impossible for them to all be Israelites because, as I said, Israel all came from one man. So all blacks definitely can't be lost Israelites or anything like that, nor can the Jews.
So I bought a $500 bottle of Creative Rentis because it's the world's most popular.
What he's saying is true. He spit facts right here. But again, that applies to his white Hebrew Israelite code as well. The same thing applies. Most human groups are ensembles, you know, because people move, migrate. Women come over there, and, you know, fuck the men over there, have children, settle down, then they'll move, then the men will move, and a war will happen, a famine will happen. Now they got to be upended and uprooted and go somewhere else. We all mixed up. That's why autosomally we all trace back to common ancestors, because it's just a math problem. When you go back, I forget how many ancestors you have in 300 years. That's so many damn ancestors just in 300 years. I think 1,000 ancestors in 200 years. I think you have 1,000 ancestors. Somebody in the chat, you can correct me on that. 1,000 ancestors. And the more you go back, it gets to a number. There's only 7 billion people on the earth now. But if you go back, I think 500 or 1,000 years, we got more ancestors than we do, you know, with the population that currently resides on earth now. Why is that? Because we share some of the same ancestors. All of us, all humans. Oh, what about isolated tribes? Isolated tribes on islands and stuff like that. We're not always on islands. How you think they got to the damn islands? They traveled there. So anyway, those are just some bars from chess. Were they my hardest? Yes.
The true Israelite haplogroup. So again, Abraham, Ishmael became Arabs, but Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Israel became the white Western Europeans in accordance with all the other evidence, prophecies, descriptors, etc., definitions, words, meaning things, fair, etc. Now, if Africans were Israelites, the blessing of multitudinous seed given to Abraham would show up within the African haplotypes.
And this is a debate where both sides are wrong. No, Africans are not Israelites, and Europeans are not Israelites. He just said that Abraham became the white Europeans, and I'm eager to hear what haplogroup is he going to use to substantiate that claim. So both sides are going to suffer and bleed out from this. That's why I want to actually go to this section where they're talking about genetics, because genetics just pretty much blows a hole in all these damn claims, to be honest with you.
A, B, and E1b being the majority of the world population, but this is not the case. Yet groups descending from haplotype F are found in 90% of the world's population and all Europeans, but almost exclusively outside of sub-Saharan Africans. So
he's misunderstanding. Like whatever he's reading is spreading misinformation, or he's misunderstanding it. Haplogroup F is the parent. Let me show y'all this, because he's obviously confused. Matter of fact, I can probably show you on Family Tree DNA. Let me see if it ever decides to load. So this is a haplogroup F, and I think what 80 to 90% of the planet is descendants of haplogroup F. Does that mean everybody that's of descendants of haplogroup F are Israelites? No, this is a very old haplogroup. A very old haplogroup. We're talking what, 50, 60,000 years old? Yeah, but between 30 and 55,000 years. And let's go to the ancestral path tree. So as you see, FM89, 46,000 BCE, so that puts about 8,000 years ago. So this doesn't tell you any goddamn thing about being an Israelite. So this was just a bad argument, to say the least. Spit Flame says Semitic is Afro-Asiatic, not Indo-European. Correct. And most West Europeans would have came from Indo-Europeans, PIE. That's why we speak a PIE, a Proto-Indo-European language. English is a Proto-Indo-European language. Spanish, Latin, all these languages are Proto-Indo-European derived in origin. Anyway, so now this claim, oh, they all got F, and oh, he said Africans don't come from this haplogroup. Are you insane? You think there's no Africa? Let's go back to Globe Trekker real quick. Where do you see the descendants of F? You see it in Africa as well, because you know there's Africans that have haplogroup J, there's Africans that have haplogroup R, there's Africans that have G, there's Africans that have several European. We brought up haplogroup T, finding its way all the way to Cameroon. So you do have these clades that are usually known as being Eurasian or born in the Eurasian continent in Africa. So Yaseh says Genesis 49 is a fed. The Jews were brown even in Talmud. There is no Jewish DNA to determine who's a Jew. It's all baloney. Okay, you're saying there's no Jewish DNA. Fine. The point still stands. Black people have different haplogroups, so they all can't go back to someone named Jacob in the Middle Bronze Age, bro. Have you taken a DNA, Yaseh? Have you taken a DNA test? Matter of fact, I will end this segment of the show, and I will allow you to come on the panel with me, the solo dolo. It's just me, and we can discuss this further, brother. There it is. Click that link for me, brother. Yaseh. Because Yaseh says Genesis 49 is a fed. And he claims that the Jews were brown even in the Talmud. Doesn't the Talmud also say they were Germani and some of them were Germani? Anyway, so we're just going to ignore those. There's no Jewish DNA to determine who's a Jew, which is inconsequential. Who cares if there's no Jewish DNA according to you? That's not the point. The point is, if you're claiming to be all Israelites, y'all claiming millions and millions of people, you're claiming millions and millions of African American people and African people are Israelites. If they all go back to Jacob, who lived in the Middle Bronze Age, we're talking 3,800 years ago. 3,800 years ago? Come on, man. So the link's there, bro. The invitation's there. You can come on here and we can discuss this further, bro. And you're right, it is all baloney. You know what's baloney? The claim that Black Americans are Israelites. The claim that Africans are Israelites. That is baloney. So in that regard, when we're talking about something being phony science or just a phony claim or a made-up claim, being a Black Hebrew Israelite is an oxymoron. And it's not true. Y'all don't descend from some man that lived in the Bronze Age named Abraham or Jacob. Y'all don't. When I say y'all, I'm talking about the collective of what we call Africans and African Americans. For the most part, you don't. We come from different males, different ancestors with different pasts and different histories. That's just the truth, bro. And I will appreciate it if you click that link, brother. Y'all saves. I'm not too familiar with this brother. Maybe I spoke to you in the past. But you can definitely come on here and we can discuss it. Yaseh says Jacob and Esau would have had the same haplogroup. Correct, brother. Oh, there he is. We got Yaseh in the building. What's going on, brother?
What's up? I shouldn't have called you a fed, but you were giving those vibes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I do work for the government, bro. So yeah, you're right. I'm a fed, bro. But go ahead, man. You said you made a few claims here. So where are we at disagreement at? Where's the disagreement?
Well, are you claiming that all Israelites or all Black Americans aren't Israelites?
Yes, a vast majority of Black Americans are not Israelites, brother.
I mean, you could argue that. I just don't disagree with, because I was taking it wrong. It seemed like you were saying blacks aren't connected to Israel.
What do you mean blacks are connected to Israel? In what way? Genetically, ancestrally?
Yeah, genetically, ancestrally.
Well, see, when we're talking about a vast majority of African Americans, again, we're talking about tens of millions of people, right? Most of these people don't
Yeah.
go back to Israelite or Levantine peoples. That's just a fact.
I mean, you could argue that. I don't disagree with that. Like you clarified it, so I wouldn't disagree with that.
So you get where I'm coming from, like, because when we look at, all right, so most Black Americans, I've done videos on this. Most Black Americans either come from African ancestors or European ancestors. The bulk of us. Would you agree with that?
What you said, they come from where?
African ancestors and European ancestors.
Yeah.
So why you in the chat going, saying I'm a fan and all that, bro? If you understand that, what's the issue?
I'm saying, like, I don't understand. Well, I guess I gotta watch more of your videos, but the ones I seen maybe, I don't know how much I seen, but it kind of seemed like you went away from the doctrine, and I wasn't really sure like the perspectives you were taking, but
No,
I
I
mean,
did go away from an Israelite doctrine. I don't have an Israelite perspective no more.
yeah.
I don't view the world through those lenses anymore. I got rid of those, those specs.
I mean, so what's I got a question. So, I was doing research on the haplogroups, and one of them said, like, I think it was E1B1A. And, I don't believe fully in the DNA, but, I'm still trying to see what you're saying. And it said, like, E1B1A originated 13,000 years ago. So, like, how would that kind of determine who's a Jew? Like, it doesn't even, I don't get it.
Well, that right, what you just said, if that marker originated 13,000 years ago, what does that have to do with Israelites? When the Israelites, they formed in the Iron Age around 3,000 years ago. So how are you trying to use E1B1A and comparing it to Israelite ancestry?
Well, I mean, I don't fully believe in the system, but if I were to, take your line of logic, I don't think, like what I said earlier, like with Jacob and Esau, like being, they would have had the same haplogroup.
Exactly. They would have had the same haplogroup. And if African Americans are somehow the product of Jacob, why don't they all have the same haplogroup? It's impossible. The claim itself logically cannot be walked out because from the get-go, you can't prove and establish a shared paternity amongst African Americans. You can't.
Well, so would you agree that I feel like you can make the same argument for the Ashkenazi or any of the Jews?
It's true. The same thing with Ashkenazi Jews. They don't all share the same haplogroup. So therefore, if they're claiming to be all sons of Abraham or all sons of Jacob, that's invalid because y'all don't all go back to the same male source. You understand?
Yeah. So, I mean, if the Bible was fake, then I could see what you're saying, but
Wait. So why? Okay, hold on. Let's slow down for a minute. We're not. I'm just talking from a genetic standpoint. Now, there are things in the Bible I disagree with that I think are just, what's the word for it? That's besides the point. What I'm trying to tell you is this. What I'm telling you about how haplogroups work is a fact, right? What people think and who they think the Israelites are, those are fairy tales. The idea that somehow these people groups are connected to ancient men that lived in the Bronze Age, those things cannot be substantiated. But guess what I can substantiate? I can substantiate that my DNA matched with certain people groups that lived maybe 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago. We can prove that. These claims that Black Hebrew Israelites make and white Hebrew Israelites make, we can't prove those claims. They're unverifiable claims. That's my point.
Well, I mean, I can kind of see what you're saying, but like, I don't know. Like, when I look at science, well, I'm not going to say you can't prove anything, but it's like, how can I put it?
Let me ask you a question real quick. Oh, let me ask you a question. If a woman came to you and said, "Hey, I'm impregnated with your baby," right?
Yeah.
What are the steps that you're going to take to make sure that that's your baby? What are you going to go do?
Yeah, I mean,
hold on. You gonna say it? Don't be shy about it, bro. Don't beat around the bush. What will you do?
I mean, she's my wife. I mean, I wouldn't need a DNA test.
Okay, let's say it's a random woman, man. You just shacked up with, you know, one thing led to another. She come back and says she's pregnant. What are you gonna do?
Oh yeah, that's different. Yeah, I'd take a DNA test.
Why? You told me you don't believe in DNA.
Nah, some of it, yeah.
The reason why you're gonna take that DNA because you know it's gonna confirm whether or not that's your child. Why is it gonna confirm whether or not that's your child, your blood relative? Because your DNA is gonna have to match. Same thing with ancestry. We making these ancestral claims. If all these African Americans are Israelites, their DNA should match with the dead people, the bones, the skeletal remains that was found in the Levant during the time of the Israelites. And it doesn't, bro, for the most part.
Oh yeah. The Limba though. The Limba had J2, and I think that was the original haplogroup.
Yeah, the Limba do match with Levantine and Middle Eastern people. That's a fact. But that's based off their DNA, not based off a claim, not just the claim by itself.
Yeah. So you do agree, like, DNA can't tell someone if they're a Jew or not?
This is what I would say. DNA can't tell you exactly, like, oh, your ancestors were Vikings. But what it can do is connect you to people groups that will be in that region during the time in question. So if you claim to be an Israelite, your DNA has to match with people that lived during the time of the Israelites. That makes sense? To have that would be what we call a proxy.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta find, like, I don't know if you did some videos I could look at. I only saw like one of that, you know, the J2 that they found. I don't know any other bodies that they have.
Yeah. See, that one was dated directly to the Israelite period after the time of the kings, I think in the 8th century. And that was haplogroup J2. Again, that's a haplogroup that's very, very rare amongst African Americans. Not saying that they don't have it. It's just a rare haplogroup. Only a few African Americans descend from that line. But the best we can do is make a proxy. We can't say for certain anybody descended directly from any group, any cultural group or any group. Vikings, you name a group. You're not gonna be able to do that with DNA. But what we can say is, hey, we know they was in this land, we know they was in this area, and it was part of this culture. So if you're claiming, then we got something to compare against. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Am I still a Fed, brother?
No, I mean, I doubt it.
Yeah, man. I just want people to use logic and reasoning, bro. That's all. Not just going off the claim. Actually try to prove out your claim, you know? And if your claim comes back false, be the responsible adult that you are and say, all right, I was wrong and move on. I had to do that 1,000 times. But that's what we do in this journey we call life. You're going to be wrong. That's the part of educating yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do some more research.
Yeah. Just do your research and read and educate yourself more. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions you got for me, brother?
Well, I mean, I guess you kind of agree, like DNA can't tell you. It can only, like tell you a few things. So, I mean, so you think like with the haplogroups, like it's impossible to, oh no, the R1B. Like, what do you think about the R1B and Fellaini?
And the Fulani?
Yeah.
Also, that's R1B RV88. So they're not only in the Fulani, they're in the basically all the Chadic speaking groups have RV88. What's that group in Nigeria? I'm trying to think of their name right now. We were talking about it earlier. The Hausa also have RV88. And RV88 is just a signature of a group of males that originated in Europe. And again, you go back to the point in the power of DNA. The reason why we know they originated in Europe because the earliest branches of that haplogroup was found in the Balkans. So we know where their parents come from.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to match somebody, okay, so the only way you're going to be able to match someone's Y chromosome is you have to descend from it. That's the only way. That's how sex works. We reproduce vertically, bro, not horizontally. So meaning your father created you. You're going to create your son. Your son's going to create his son. There's no other way to do it. So if they have a signature on their Y chromosome, it went back to Yaseh. And your signature on your Y chromosome went back to your father. And his signature on his Y chromosome went back to his father. So all those people with RV88 in the west coast of Africa, all of their signatures go back to this man that lived somewhere in the Balkans in Central Europe somewhere, probably 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You look discomforted by that. Why? You don't like to
I
hear?
mean, I got to do more studying, so I can't really. But what you're saying, it fits what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I want you to study. Don't just take what I say for face value. I would like for you to, after this is done, go read some things about it and study more on it. Be more open minded on the things. That's all.
Yeah.
You look like you're uncomfortable, bro, because we don't want to associate Black people with Europeans, but there are plenty of Africans that descend from Europeans.
Well, I mean, I don't think I do, but.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm just misjudging you, mischaracterizing you, because you look like when I said that, you look kind of like a little bothered by when I said.
Oh, no, I'm U1B1A.
Okay. Oh, so you done your DNA?
Yeah, my people. Yeah, even in Spain and Malaysia, that's kind of where I was. The Moorish kingdoms, and that's why I kind of believe the whole Jewish thing.
Oh, you believe E1B1A was exclusively Jewish?
I don't believe like DNA could determine a tribe.
Okay, fair. So, but you believe your ancestors were Jews?
Yeah, currently, yeah.
Okay, I mean that the burden of proof's on you to prove that out. You know what I'm saying? But all I can tell you is you got to use empirical data, bro. That's all, man. A lot of people don't want to use things, real world things. They just want to make the claim and just say, "Oh, the spirit told me," or "I fit the curses," and all this other stuff, man. My people are oppressed. So
well, who do you think like were in Andalusia at the time?
Oh,
Like
Andalusia,
just Hamites?
in Spain, who I think was there. There was a couple of groups there. You had some Europeans there, of course, right? It's in Iberia. You had a few Africans there. And you even had a few Asians there. A very small group of Asians.
Dang.
And of course, you had Jews there as well, because everybody want to bring out the Jews, the Ladino speakers. And I know there's a famous doctrine on the internet going around where African Americans saying, "See, we the Sephardic Jews, we the Sephardic Jews." That's another claim, and that's probably the claim that you're leaning into, right?
Yeah.
I knew it. Could there have been black people or E1B1A carriers that converted into that faith or merged and amalgamated with that faith? Yes. But is that true for everybody with the E1B1A haplotype? No. It's called being nuanced, brother.
Yeah. Well, so you do agree that some Jews, like, you know, so would you say that the African Jews were converts?
What do you mean? What African Jews?
Like the West African, you know, like, yeah, just
West,
all the West African Jews.
a lot of them, yeah. A lot of them just converted into the faith, which is nothing wrong with that. That's how culture works. Culture exchanges hands. People enculturate and acculturate all the time. There's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, so yeah, I just got to do research because I'm not sure if there's like haplogroup J in West Africa, but we do know that
it is there.
There was a. Oh, is there?
Yeah, it is there because the Arabs. So you got people called the Bagara Arabs in Nigeria. A lot of them look, or the Shua Arabs. If you look them up, a lot of them look like other Nigerians when you do the DNA on them. Some of the males go back to haplogroup J. And then you got to remember, because I know you be watching YouTube channels talking about Sephardic history. There were Sephardic Jews that came down and had sex with local women on the west coast of Africa and places like Senegambia and stuff like that. And they left behind children in West Africa, whole families. So we see traces of that DNA as well. We see those European strands of DNA or European Jewish strands of DNA, not only on the west coast of Africa, we do see it in the Americas as well, because you got some African Americans when they do their DNA test, like, hold up, you got your DNA matches or can be considered a match with a what we would expect to see or find with a European Jew, like a downstream of E123. Are you familiar with Dante Fortson?
Yeah, I watch him sometimes.
It's possible that maybe his ancestor was a part of that culture, the Sephardic Jew, because he is a downstream of E1B1B 123 as well.
So, I mean, if I was a convert, you know, if my ancestors did partake in Judaism, like, so you're just saying the haplogroup determines it and that's the end of it?
No, I'm saying the haplogroups show that the claim of Black Hebrew Israelites that all these African people descend from a common ancestor named Jacob that lived in the Middle Bronze Age is false. That's what I'm saying. You can convert to whatever religion you want to convert to or whatever culture that you see fit. That has nothing to do with your ancestry. That has everything to do with your own volition.
Yeah. Well, it was, I don't know, you probably seen it, I don't know. But what do you think about like Ethiopian DNA? And because I've seen the source.
I was about to ask you, what you think about Ethiopian DNA? Because a lot of them Ethiopians, a lot of those East Africans in general, like the Somalians, they got like Iranian DNA.
Dang.
Caucasus DNA. Sudanese, they got DNA go back to the Caucasus. Ancestry and ancestors go back to places like Iran and Iraq, places in the Near East, Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Which goes back to what I was saying earlier. Just because somebody black or somebody got a certain skin color, they don't tell you the whole story. Everything that creates our facial structure, nose structure, skin color, hair texture, all those things are what we call polygenic, man. It's not something that's concrete. It's not something that's exclusive. It's plastic. Plastic can be molded and manipulated and changed. Anyway, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
It was Ethiopian. Oh yeah, Ethiopian DNA. Like Tacitus, he said the Jews may have originated from Ethiopia 2,000 years ago. So like, what do you think it was like some sort of brown people, but they weren't African or something? Like, I don't know.
Okay, so let's just talk about the first thing you said. Tacitus making that claim. It's just a claim. You understand?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they would have been dark though if he's calling them that.
Yes, some of them were dark in skin coloration, some were brown in skin coloration, but the majority, the most popular skin tone in that region during that time would have been what we call intermediate skin. The intermediate skin tone. So that's why that Mishnah, it says a Jew is not black or white, but it's in the middle or intermediate or something like that. That's actually that's actually been proven to be true.
Like,
do you know what intermediate skin is?
Nah.
Let me show you an example. Let me show you. You look up some Yemeni people. I like going to Yemen. Yemeni people. I mean, you can type in Kuwait or whatever to see the skin tone here. This would have been the most amongst indigenous Jewish, indigenous Arabs. This skin color here, can you see that? Maybe that's a little grainy. That's intermediate skin color or skin tone.
I mean, yeah, I can see what you're saying. I mean, that's Yemen.
That would have been the most common phenotype at that time. The skin color, the skin tone. But Darius Dawson said you couldn't tell him to look at his skin, huh? And Darius Dawson also says it does seem that your conclusions all have to come against BHI. Also, WHI earlier, brother. I was just reviewing the clip of a white Hebrew Israelite claim it. All right, what you got for me, brother?
That's about it. I mean, I think what you're saying kind of makes sense. I mean, I got to research it, but yeah, I just don't know how fully, DNA works. So I couldn't really make an argument with it.
Are you familiar with the murals of Fayum, Egypt?
No.
From 2,000 years ago. Let me see if I can pull it up as well. They depicted people. They depicted dark-skinned people too. But what people do is they hyper focus on the dark-skinned pictures and they ignore the rest of the photos or the rest of the paintings. Not photos. They had photography back then, but the rest of the paintings. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick, man. My Kindle. I bet you've seen these pictures before, man. As soon as my Kindle pop up, I'm gonna show you. But let me read some of these. The raw truth about everything says, my grandfather was very dark, but our Y chromosome goes back to a white slave owner. My fifth great grandfather's skin color and phenotype is not an indicator of someone's overall ancestry. That is true. Look at Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan found out that his great grandfather was a white Jewish man, and he's black as night. Azariahu said, this is the most non-biased factual point of view. It's against all racial purity groups. Exactly. Exactly. All these people want to claim all white people the same, all black people the same. That ain't true. That ain't true at all. Mule Chesedek says everyone wants it as simple as skin and DNA, but culture and religion is harder to pin down. Yes, because a cultural group is separate from ancestry, and it can move different hands very quickly. It can move from different hands and exchange different hands very quickly. Same thing with religion. The people that are practicing Christians today don't necessarily have to be related to the first Christians or the second generation of Christians or third generation Christians. That's not how ideas are spread. It has nothing to do with biology and ancestry. Has everything to do with sex and sexual reproduction. Culture has nothing to do with that. It has a lot to do with influence and other things. I'm waiting on this book to load up. Hold on, I got it. Let me go through my little library here on Kindle. You know what? I'm slow tonight, man. I could have just Googled it. I could have Googled the portraits. You haven't seen any of the Egyptian paintings from 2,000 years ago at all?
Yeah, I've seen a few. Like
do you remember
what about Ramses III and the E1B1A?
I mean, yeah, he could have been E1B1A. We haven't had a high. We need a higher resolution on his haplogroup, on his DNA to confirm it, to 100% stamp him as E1B1A. You know, but it looks like his DNA is E1B1A. So you know, a lot of people want to connect themselves to Ramesses, and that's cool and all, but I really don't. With Israelites, you know, what's the fascination with Ramesses the third? Are you still there? What is the fascination? Why do you think people want to connect themselves with Ramesses the third?
I mean, when you look at the painting, he just looks brown, to be honest. And you know, some people just feel like, not even feel like, I think it is kind of true. Some Africans would be Egyptians, so I mean, it just is what it is.
Okay. Some Africans will be Egyptian. Okay. All right. I mean, I don't know what else. I don't know how to follow up on that.
What you mean?
I mean, it's a simple statement. It's true. Some Africans are Egyptian.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, because I could see what you're saying to a degree, like cultures exchange. But I don't know. The Bible just lines up so much with the whole Black Hebrew Israelite thing.
Does it?
Yeah, I would say so.
How so? Give me an example.
Like the back of the dollar bill has the Egyptian pyramid, and then Deuteronomy 28. It's easy to connect the dots between slavery, blacks, Jesus being brown. I mean, it's too easy to like connect the dots.
So the dollar having a pyramid on the back of it solidifies Black Hebrew Israelite claims. The dollar.
No, I'm not saying that makes it true, but I'm saying if it was true, then it makes sense.
You know what that is? That's story weaving, bro. You know, that's.
But you agree that some Jews are black, or maybe not originally, but they would have converted, and then they got sold into slavery, and then Egypt on the back of the dollar bill. Then Deuteronomy 28, you shall go into Egypt again with ships. I mean, it fits. You can't. I feel like even if it wasn't true, it fits.
I mean, it just sounds appealing if you're identitarian and you want to claim that ancestry. It sounds appealing. I don't think it fits at all because there's other factors that you have to take into consideration. Like the fact that Africans, a lot of these Africans that were there in the west coast of Africa have been there since 2500 BCE. We know this because we can start seeing the formation of city-states 2500 BCE onward.
Yeah, like I was wondering about that because I haven't seen like, I think the oldest building in Africa was like, you know, besides the pyramids and the buildings in I think it was Nigeria or not Nigeria. You know, there's few structures, but I haven't seen many ancient structures in Africa. So it kind of seems like certain areas weren't even inhabited.
Yeah, in Western Africa, we don't start seeing the development of complex cultures until after like 2500 BCE. So if a large contingent of West Africans were already there 4,500 years ago, then how are you conflating them with people that were living in the Levant 3,000 years ago?
But yeah, like where's the proof we were there?
I just gave you a summation of the proof. Proof is we start seeing people that ultimately derive from north or Saharan regions, because the Sahara used to be green, and we can see that they're bringing their crop cultivation, their animal husbandry with them, their tools, their basket weaving, stuff of that nature with them, and then pottery making. We can see that travel from the Central Sahara down into places like Ghana, down into places like the Ivory Coast. We can track it through archaeology and anthropology, the material culture that they left behind. We knew people were there. And you don't start seeing this until about 4,500 years ago. And after this period, we see a greater population density begin to amass in places that we call Nigeria, the Chad Basin, and surrounding regions after that period. So we know that there's a contingent of West African ancestry that was there during the time of what we know as the biblical period in the Levant. Thank you, Azariahu. The Tachit culture in Mali, we see that there during that time. So that conflicts with it, with the idea that a large contingent or the majority or bulk of West African or African American ancestry is somehow connected to Israelite ancestry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll look into it more. Like, I do think the Earth's population is kind of weird if the Bible, like what you're saying, they were there millions of years before. So, like, how we connect to Israel? I mean, you know, I just have to do more studying.
I didn't say millions. I was saying a lot of the West African ancestry that you see amongst African Americans derived from peoples that would have been in West Africa during the time of the Israelite, right? It can't be in two places at one time. So, I mean, and then the other portion of our ancestry, which is largely European, you know, people with European ancestry amongst African Americans most likely would have like Bell Beaker ancestry, right? Scandinavian ancestry or early European former ancestry. So they are descended from people that will have been largely in the European continent, the western part and the central part, while the Israelites were forming in the Levant. So that conflicts with it as well. So throwing up all these, hey, the curses in Deuteronomy 28, that sounds good until we start to analyze the data and the history of these different people groups.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah, hey, if you join the Facebook group, Genesis 49ers, matter of fact, I'm gonna send you a link, man. What's your email, man? I'll give you my email. I'll put it in the chat, bro. Just email me, and then I'm gonna send you an invite, and I can give you some study material, some books to look into in your free time. You can do some research that way.
All right.
Versus just going to tailministries.com or Tail Ministries on YouTube and being indoctrinated, brother. That's my email on the screen right there, HebrewJedi@gmail.com. Send me an email, and I'll give you a link to my study group on Facebook. And I'll provide you the resources or some resources that you can start your journey on learning more history about West African ancestry, occupation, cultures, and stuff of that nature, and also European. Yeah, shout out to the brother, man.
All right, yeah, water. I mean, I'll look into it, what you're saying, and keep an open mind.
Yeah. I don't know why I can't find this these Egyptian paintings. This whole time I've been talking to you, I've been looking for it.
Man. All right, yeah, I'm about to get off work, but I'm gonna see y'all.
All right, brother, man. I appreciate you coming up here, man.
Yeah, thanks for letting me on.
Hey, no problem. Anytime.
All right, see you.
All right, peace. All right, y'all. I couldn't find that damn image. Might have to use Google. Need to bookmark this damn page next time, y'all. But appreciate him, man. He came on here. He had an open ear. Ah, here it is, right here. As soon as you leave, I'll find it, man. Hold on, y'all. Let me share my Kindle. Let me drop that real quick. Share my Kindle real quick. We go back to this book. A mummy portrait of a bearded man from Fayum, Egypt, and that's how he looked during that time. So there's a bunch of paintings like this depicting how people look. Now there are dark-skinned people there too, but my thing is a lot of these Black Hebrew Israelites, they ignore pictures that look like this and go straight to the dark ones. Like, yeah, see, these are my people. This look would have probably been more common during that time in those regions. Just saying. So anyway, this is from a book, What Did Jesus Look Like? And basically they go around the different periods of time, looking at paintings and murals and stuff like that to get an idea of what the general population would have looked like during this time. All right, let's get back to this video. I ain't gonna be on too much longer because I need to take my ass to sleep. But I did want to, entertain the brother's conversation and go back and forth with him. So whatever, man. Let's get back up here. Hope the brother learned something. Where we at? All right, cool. Let's rewind that so we can define that, y'all.
The burning of Rome, Chicago, and London twice, etc. The Jews, the deep state, they hate whites. They don't hate blacks. They love blacks, and they want to get together with them and get whitey, like whatever that SNL, whatever late night, John, whatever, I forget, TV. Anyway, it was a famous guy who said it.
John Stewart.
Yeah, John Stewart.
John Leibovitz was his Jewish name before he changed it to Stewart.
Yeah. Anyway, so back into my thread on there. I'm going to start with the genetics aspect on claim 2, the traditional evidence, by the way, all traditional evidence, genetics, anthropology, etymology, archaeology, archaeogenetics, etc.
And Dustin, real quick, I just wanted to jump in just to add. Now this is, and I just want to try and critique points that I hear made that I think might be worth questioning. According to Statista.com, and I'll share the link here in the nest. But looking over the population number to suggest there were hundreds of millions of slaves brought out of Africa, I think if you were to look at the estimated population of each continent from 10,000 BCE to 2000 CE, Ronald, for what it's worth, that the numbers in terms of total African continental populations would not support the notion of hundreds of millions of people. being removed. And so I just want to bring that up as a perspective point of contention, because it sounded like a number that probably was too high to be reasonable and realistic. So I just looked into it, and it certainly would appear to be based on their numbers. So that's statista.com. I'm not vouching for that website. I frankly can't, because I don't know much about it, but it seems like that claim can't be remotely correct.
And I want to repeat, according to a Black historian, Thomas Sowell, who I respect very much, more whites were brought to Africa than Africans to America. Again, now going into the genetics, kind of back to the point of who the true Israelites are. DNA research science from Dr. Aaron L. Hayek, who was a Jew, admits, and his associates at the McKusick-Nathans Institute of Genetic Medicine at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine have confirmed that, quote, 97% of the 17 million of the world's Jews are not descendants of Abraham, end quote. So we know it's not them. I just want to throw that out there and get into the actual genetics of this. They also did this genome-wide diversity study in the Levant, revealing the secrets basically behind the genetics there. Quote, Levant populations today fall into two main groups, one sharing more genetic characteristics with modern-day Europeans and Central Asians, and the other with closer genetic affinities to other Middle Easterners and Africans. And quote, we reconstructed the genetic structure of the Levantines and found that a pre-Islamic expansion in Levant was more genetically similar to Europeans than to Middle Easterners, end quote. We have studies, for example, the headline here, DNA study finds early inhabitants of Israel were blue-eyed and fair-skinned. Again, there's that word fair, with blue eyes, once again, just like those mummies were depicted in the ancient statues, all blue-eyed. Geneticists compared the mitochondrial DNA from blue-eyed individuals in countries as diverse as Jordan, Denmark, and Turkey, concluding that people with blue eyes have a single common ancestor that lived by the Black Sea about a couple thousand years ago and spread out with agriculture. They're everywhere from Pakistan to India to Iran to Afghanistan to Europe, etc. Now, present-day sub-Saharan Africans trace up to 19% of their genetic ancestry to an extinct archaic hominid species, Homo erectus or Homo habilis, that is not found in the DNA of present-day Asians or Caucasians. This is from science.org, the study Recovering Signals of Ghost Archaic Introgression African Populations. Now, in terms of haplogrouping, this is a very important point. It's a little complicated, so I'm going to try to go slow. Let me get some water. Okay, now, all true descendants of Israel would be of the exact same haplogroup. Males carry an unchanged Y chromosome from the patrilineal or paternal line, as Ron mentioned earlier, that is kept by the father's side in the actual Torah, which Jews do not do. That genetically remains unchanged throughout time. This line from your fathers to you is unchanged. It's your people's story. Yet all the self-proclaimed Israelites, Black and Jew alike, both Hamitic cousins, are actually non-homogeneous in their haplogroups, unlike true Israelites.
Yeah, you're non-homogeneous in your haplogroup. And the thing is, you're making this claim against Black Hebrew Israelites, which is true, Dustin, Nemos, but at the same time, it's true against you as well. Because white Americans, white Europeans don't all share the same haplogroups. And those Jewish people that you talking about are not Jews. They go back to haplogroup F as well. So are you cementing them as well, or do you know what the hell you're talking about? Sound like a bunch of confabulation and confusing your damn self.
So you can follow along with the charts at the haplogrouping post in the thread above. The first one I put up there. There's two. So the first one, not the one with all the pictures of Irish kids suffering. And you can see charts that cover the Y chromosome of Blacks and Jews. And you can see how they're non-homogeneous. That means they don't all come from the same father. They are what you could say is a decentralized parentage that is not all patrilineally related or lacks homogeneity in the chromosome. And it is impossible for them to all be Israelites because, as I said, Israel all came from one man. So all Blacks definitely can't be the lost Israelites or anything like that, nor can the Jews. The true Israelite haplogroup. So again, Abraham, Ishmael became Arabs, but Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Israel became the white Western Europeans in accordance with all the other evidence, prophecies, descriptors, etc., definitions, words mean things, fair, etc. Now, if Africans were Israelites, the blessing of multitudinous seed given to Abraham would show up within the African haplotypes, A, B, and E1b, being the majority of the world population. But this is not the case. Yet groups descending from haplotype F are found in 90% of the world's population and all Europeans, but almost exclusively outside of sub-Saharan Africans. The aforementioned Afro portion of R1b, J, and T haplogroups. So A1, A, B, and E1B, which represents the majority of African haplogroups.
And Dustin, I think
does
you're going to
not-
have to. I think you're going to have to simplify that a smidge for individuals like myself that are not familiar with what you're discussing.
I will. Basically, we all have a haplotype according to our race, our family. Now, in the case of Western Europeans, we can say we all come from one man. In the case of blacks in Africa, they cannot say that. In the case of Jews, they.
What the hell? He's saying F, haplogroup F is his claim to say that we all come from one man. Haplogroup F is shared with Africans, it's shared with Jews, it's shared with East Indians, it's shared with a lot of people. That doesn't even make no damn sense. And again, for all the people that just came on, I know I had a conversation with a brother. Haplogroup F is about 55,000 or 45,000 years old. I can see it again, haplogroup F, 90% of the earth. Native Indians come from haplogroup F. A lot of your Asians, a lot of your Europeans come from haplogroup F. Your Negritos come from haplogroup F. This is a large group that we're talking about, and a very old group. And he's saying, oh, this disqualifies the Jews. How? Because the Jews, if they come from J or T or R, like Netanyahu, they come from haplogroup F as well. So this was very disingenuous of him to go. But if you don't know about haplogroups, then, you know, especially this is my thing about DNA, you know, that I don't like, is that what's been popularized is autosomal DNA. So when y'all hear about haplogroups and Y DNA and mtDNA, y'all are confused, or y'all have very little knowledge on it, because everybody else is just running to their autosomal DNA, and these marketing companies are just talking about, like Ancestry.com, just only showcasing that. So now he could come out here with his BS and pretty much obfuscate and confuse the audience when he's talking about haplogroups. Haplogroup F is nothing special. It's a very old haplogroup, and yeah, all Europeans and Asians come from this lineage. You understand? So his claim is a moot point.
They cannot say that. And that bears out in the haplogroups. The R haplogroup seems to be the actual lost tribes of Israel haplogroup, you know, like 80% or more purity in the Irish, Scottish region, etc. And this is an important part of Black Hebrew Israelite ideology.
He said the R haplogroup is the lost Israelite haplogroup. Okay, there's plenty of European, plenty of African Americans and Africans that got haplogroup R. I'm under the suspicion that Ron Dalton might have haplogroup R or a European haplogroup. So this claim don't even make any sense. We're going to go back to family tree DNA, man. Hopefully I can do this quick because I don't want to be on here into the wee hours of the night. I'm be honest with y'all. I really don't. But we're going to type in haplogroup R and just show you the vast majority of the how many people that this haplogroup encompass. Look at this. Look how much of the map that this haplogroup encompasses, man. This ancient male group had a lot of goddamn kids. And you're trying to use this haplogroup, the rubber stamp who is not an Israelite. It just does not work. It's just too big of a damn group. This is a macro haplogroup. Europeans have it, Central Asians have it. As you can see, it's in India, it's in Saudi Arabia, it's in North Africa, it's in Central Africa. We all know why, because it's Czech-speaking peoples, right? RV88. We just got done talking about that. And of course, all over Europe. So no, this don't make the cut either. This don't make the cut either. And how old is haplogroup R? M207. Let's see. Let's go to the ancestral path. 26,000 BCE, making it 28,000 years old. Again, too old to make the claim that this has something to do with the lost tribe of Israelites. Haplogroup R is way too old. It doesn't even originate in the Levant. Let's go back to Globe Trekker to see where haplogroup R originates. It is in Central Asia. That's where it's at. Look, right above Mongolia and Russia. That's where it originates. And we're talking about 28,000 years ago. Come on now. Ladarius Dustin says he's trying to use the CT argument, which is a low-key racist argument that makes AB seem less modern or make Africans seem primitive like Nathaniel Jensen. Yeah, I don't agree at all with Nathaniel Jensen's work. It's pretty much it doesn't work. Anyway, so hopefully y'all understood why his argument don't make no damn sense to try to use haplogroup F or haplogroup R to pinpoint the lost tribes of Israel in his words. Which is funny because that would include a lot of African Americans and Africans because, again, the Hausa have haplogroup R at high and respectable rates. Chadic-speaking people, Sudanese people have it. Sudanese Fulani have haplogroup R at a high clip. So come on, y'all. You kind of shoot yourself in the foot right there.
Theology to sort of wrap in other races like the Native Americans because they want to say that that's the northern tribes, I believe. Basically, Native Americans are not the northern tribes per their ideology, and you can see this in African A, B, and E1B because they're not even closely related to the Aboriginal Native Americans, which is the haplogroup Q, which is a brother to the European R, by the way. So we're brothers with Native Americans. Now, GRLA is one famous example of a well-known black.
That's true as well. That's true as well. That haplogroup Q are the brothers of haplogroup R. But again, this happened thousands and thousands of years ago. Thousands and thousands of years ago. Let me see. Let's go back to Papa P here. The ancestor of oh man. Hold on, y'all. That's the only thing I don't like about family tree DNA, man. Sign your ass out fast, bro. Go back in here. And I apologize if I don't have too much energy for y'all tonight. You know, I'm usually bringing that fire, but I'm just tired. I'm be honest with y'all. I'm tired tonight. But anyway, we just type in haplogroup P. So as you guys can see here, haplogroup P would birth, go back to Globe Trekker. If it loads. Thank you, Azaryahu. People are going to need to start saying subclades. Just saying haplogroup R and Q is too vague. Exactly. These are very old groups of males that existed a long time ago. And again, anybody making a Hebrew Israelite argument using these macro haplogroups that existed so long ago, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So let's go to P295. And from there, P45. I'm trying to see where it splits so you guys can see the Q and the R. God damn it. Give me the damn split, man. So here we're at 30,000 years. There it is. Boom. P-P226. This male group births haplogroup R and haplogroup Q. And as you can see, like he said, Native Americans are literally the brothers of all of haplogroup R, because as you can see, this group split and went into the Americas. And then the other group, which is predominantly R, and some of the Q went into Europe as well. They went their way from Central Asia. So he is telling the truth. But again, this happened 32,000 years ago, bro. 32,000 goddamn years ago. This ain't got shit to do with no Israelite, no Abraham, no Jacob, no lost tribes of Israel. Like, that's all I be telling people. Y'all got a chronology problem. A lot of y'all arguments are also anachronistic, in the wrong damn time period. These people are purported to live during the Bronze Age, man, 3,000, 4,000 years ago. This haplogroup, or these people groups, were established and born in this earth 32,000 years ago, man. It's a big goddamn difference, now is it? Ladarius says, well, who do you all think the original lineage was and are? If there was a subclade, who we already discussed this, the early Levantine peoples and their haplogroups with some downstreams, J1P58, some E1B1B, N123 Levantine people, haplogroup T, downstreams of T1A. We've already discussed that. I can show you that real quick. Hey man, y'all gotta be teetering off too much tonight. Hold on. I accidentally closed my screen tonight. Haplo tree and type in Israel. So I'm answering your question right now, Ladarius. You see that on the screen? This is haplotree.info and all of the haplogroups that were found that were able to be sequenced from the skeletal remains in Israel. And as you can see, we got some E1B1B clades, EM35, more E1B1B clades, EM123, haplogroup H, and a bunch of J markers, J2A, J1, JP58. These people most likely are going to be the nucleus or nexus of what we call Israelites. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me put that in the chat for you, bro. All right, let me go back to the video. So y'all saw that Q, haplogroup Q, and haplogroup R comes from haplogroup P, and they split and became their own branches 30,000 years ago. Long before there was an Israelite, a lost tribe, long before the tradition existed, long before any of that, which invalidates all of these damn claims.
And all Europeans, but almost exclusively outside of sub-Saharan Africans. The aforementioned Afro portion of R1b, J, and T haplogroups. So A1, A, B, and E1b, which represents the majority of African haplogroups.
And Dustin, I think you're gonna have to simplify that a smidge for individuals like myself that are not familiar with what you're discussing.
I will. Basically, we all have a haplotype according to our race, our family. Now, in the case of Western Europeans, we can say we all come from one man. In the case of blacks in Africa, they cannot say that. In the case of Jews, they cannot say that. And that bears out in the haplogroups. The R haplogroup seems to be the actual lost tribes of Israel haplogroup, like 80% or more purity in the Irish, Scottish region, etc. And this is an important part of Black Hebrew Israelite ideology to sort of wrap in other races like the Native Americans, because they want to say that that's the northern tribes, I believe. Basically, Native Americans are not the northern tribes per their ideology, and you can see this in African A, B, and E1b, because they're not even closely related to the Aboriginal Native Americans, which is the haplogroup Q, which is a brother to the European R, by the way. So we're brothers with Native Americans. Now, GRLA is one famous example of a well-known Black Hebrew Israelite, BHI, whose rDNA results yielded R1b after years of him claiming E1b was the true Israelites. And that would make, basically him incorrect about his thesis. And of course, he's updated it and changed it since then. But, this is where the goalpost moving occurs. You can see some of the graphs of genetic dispersal, haplotype group dispersal, and how sort of whites are all within that circle, but Jews are scattered with outside of their area. Every other races are in their own little bubbles, so to speak. The ancient Middle East was white, according to nature.com, with blue eyes being predominant. This is also one of the posts that I've shared for people who want to see it up there. They say, quote, we highlight 3 findings of interest first, and LLG at...
Are you in Texas? Would you like to know the secrets for having a better life?
RS129-13832, near the OSA2 gene, with a proven association to blue eye color in individuals of European descent. etc. So it's getting a little sciencey. I don't want to bore you guys too much on that point.
Well, and the danger is, Dustin, and I'm suggesting this trying to just help ensure that we get clarity for anybody listening. But I think a lot of the things that you're saying, while certainly I would assume well researched and coming from a place of scientific accuracy, that they're probably zooming over the heads of most individuals that are not familiar with some of the data points. And so if you could try and just keep in perspective the audience and maybe their familiarity with some of these things, it might be helpful for you.
I had to get some of that out for those who wanted to call me on it. But basically, the blood tells that not all blacks come from the same father. Not all Jews come from the same father. All European Western whites come from the same father, the R haplotype group.
That ain't true at all. What he's saying is not true. All Europeans do not come from haplogroup R. And again, that wouldn't be proof that you descend from an ancient Israelite in the first goddamn place. But he is right about Africans and African Americans. They don't all share the same fathers. And that's basically what we're saying. It's just a science way of saying you share the same pappy, or you don't share the same pappy. So let's look up a European haplogroups pie chart. Let's make it real simple, man. Make it real simple. Let me see. So we can illustrate this shit real quick, man. All right, boom. North India. God damn, man. The internet's sucking right now, bro. What the hell going on, man? I couldn't be more clear. Let me see. Okay. Why DNA haplogroups? Let's try that. I guess Sean down busy tonight, man. They the ones who Sean pointed this out to me. I was like, let me just do a quick little video on it real quick. Come on. That's a simple one right there. But God damn it. I'm gonna let y'all see what I'm seeing. I'm trying to find a chart specifically for genetic map. There we go. Right when I was talking shit. All right, so y'all can see that Europeans don't all come from no damn haplogroup R. And Western Europe, a bulk of it comes from haplogroup R. But for the majority, no, like there's still a mixed bag here. Look, in Finland, you see a lot of haplogroup N3 here. You even see some purple, some haplogroup Q, some E1, B1B. You see in Italy, which is only half R1B, a little bit of R1A, some I markers. Look, haplogroup J. And even in France, a large portion is R1B. Some of it's E3B. The black is G. A lot of the G markers are early European forms. Shout out to Tail Twins because that's their ancestry. That's why I said African Americans have this ancestry too. So if your ancestors were primarily here during the time of the Israelites, then how can you claim to be a descendant of an Israelite? It just doesn't make any sense. R1B in Spain is, almost at the 75%. A little bit of R1A, their brother Clade, and I. You got some I1B. You got some haplogroup J there. So these are different males. They're not all the same, like he tried to claim. You can see Iceland R1A, R1B. Is there a way I can blow this up? Let me blow this up, man. Try to blow this up, man. I want y'all to be able to see this shit too. And even up here, look, they got R1B, Celtic, Basque, Italic, Frisian, and Saxon. R1A, Slavic, Kurgan, Aryan. E1B1B is Greek, Near Eastern, and North African. I1 is Germanic. I2A, South Slavic, Sardinian. So, of course, I'm naming, how many haplogroups is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different haplogroups right there. So 5 different major groups of males that comprise of what we call Europeans. J1, they're calling Jewish and Arabic. J2, Greco-Roman. Anatolian, Mesopotamian. G is Caucasian, Alanic, Georgian, or Armenian. T is Egyptian and Near Eastern. N is Uralo-Finnic, Siberian. Q is Hunnic and Central Asian. And that is what? 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 12. So 12 different major haplogroups here found in Europe, not just one. So the lie detector proved that was a lie. A lot of these identitarian groups, that's how they operate. That's how they roll, man. They got to just lie to you and feed you bullshit. And as you get away from Western Europe and you go to Central and Eastern Europe, you see more of what we call R1A in Central and Eastern Europe. So no, they don't all share the same exact most recent male ancestor. That's not true. He's obfuscating and confusing his audience. And that's what you get with these identitarians. These people claiming to be Israelites or claiming to be ancient Indians or claiming to be all these damn ancient groups. Nah, bro, we mixed up. Humans are mixed up. Europeans are mixed up. And the very simplest way of understanding is there's different colors here. So the person that don't understand haplogroups at all, just understand that there's different colors in these damn pie charts. So therefore, they all ain't the same. At least understand that. Yeah, white Hebrew Israelite with a bold-faced lie. Anyway, let's go back.
Not the three mentioned Afro haplotype groups and et cetera. So I want to also address kind of a claim from Black Hebrew Israelites, at least some of them, that Jacob and Esau basically split as two black men, but Esau, whose name means red and hairy, was an albino. And the claim that Esau was some permanent albinism that passed that on through a curse to his offspring, et cetera, and then you get white people. And I would ask, why do only Europeans have such diverse phenotypes and vastly different skull shapes if albinism, which would basically result in a restricted variety of genetic expression. So if you start having albinism or inbreeding or certain other things, you restrict the genetic expression. So anyway, the short point here is that even with albinism, the skull shape does not change. You can see two albinos right next to each other, a black and a European man, and the skull shape still does not change. And skull shape, the cephalic index, is the best means one of the best means available of race testing. And also there's a huge...
That is a lie. No one uses craniometry to divide people in the modern science groups. That's an old 19th century scientific racist thing. And that's another thing. A lot of these groups, like I say, they derive a lot of their arguments from old racist ass arguments. Again, I'm supposedly going to be in a debate or a preliminary Saturday night on JJ's channel, and a lot what my opponent is going to bring up is going to be old 18th, 19th century garbage about Ham being black and all black people coming from Ham. These are old, antiquated, outdated arguments that should be thrown in the garbage. It should not be regurgitated in 2024, especially when you're calling yourself a researcher or an enlightened one, because, you know, we Luciferians over here, man. We enlighten people.
Again, a huge variety of eye colors, hair colors, skull shapes within that white phenotype. So it would not be the result of some random black albino who then suddenly spawned green, blue, pale gray, brown, hazel, etc. eyes. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever with the genetics. Now, in terms of the cephalic index, I don't want to cover it too much, but basically that's the skull shape stuff, and every race has their own skull shape. And the ancient Jews, the people of today, actually the Canaanites, they had an elongated skull. You might see that weird looking skull in some of the history documentaries, or something like Ancient Aliens, or something related to the Nephilim. Things are demons. They had cone heads. They were giants. Goliath probably had a pointy head like that too. They're real, but within the human shape and size, there are still variations. But they had different suture lines, brain capacity, everything. So it was not head binding. These things were real. But beyond that meat.
Damn, this is a nice knife.
Have a good one. Next, please.
Yes, I have one gator knife.
Okay. Do you want the gator?
The cephalic index basically shows that only European Westerners were particularly good or even competent seafarers. And that was one of the prophecies, that they would spread the word of God to the world. The Portuguese, Spaniards, Dutch, Norwegians, and British all have long heads with prominent occipits. The lactose intolerance.
But hang on, Dustin, just to make sure that this is meaningful and on topic, and I want to make sure that we go over to Ron so that he gets a chance to refute some of this. But where are you, and maybe I'm doing a poor job trying to follow along, but where are you trying to go with some of the anatomical critiques here? I understand you're suggesting that there's different, bone structures for different peoples and all these things, but I'm not sure if I've seen a connection that's taking the current and getting it to the past.
In short, it basically means that there is one type of skull, not even all white people, just one type of skull, the prominent occiput, long-headed type that I just mentioned, that basically does all the seafaring. Okay, long heads with prominent occipits. You don't see that even with white people who don't have that feature.
You heard that dumbass shit? There's one type of skull that does all the seafaring on the earth. This is the idiocy of craniometry when you're trying to apply it to racial groups and stuff like that. It don't work like that, man. Not at all. In fact, the quote-unquote black race has people that have that same goddamn I'm about to fuck it up, dolichocephalic skull shape, and you guys still classify them as quote-unquote black, so it don't make no damn sense.
Even within like recent German Navy recruitment, they would go to their western shores because that's where they would have to find those specific people for seafaring Navymen. So basically, it's a genetic proof text, and I'm in the genetic section. So another easy one that everybody can understand is that God promised the land of milk and honey. 80% of African Americans cannot actually digest milk. They're lactose intolerant. They have problems with it. So it doesn't make any sense. It's the same thing with the Jews. They are also incredibly lactose intolerant, and therefore, why would they need a land of milk? It doesn't make any sense. So all of the evidence is, again, as I said, we're in the genetic section. Once we get to the anthropological section, the archaeological section, if we have time, you'll see we continue this pattern of all evidence, 100% of all forms match one people and only one group of people, the ones who were enslaved more, the whites.
All right. Well, that's some interesting aspects there. You're talking about the skeletons. You're talking about bloodlines. There's also that piece about the milk and honey. I think that's actually kind of a curious state.
But here's the thing, man. Ron Dalton, I heard him spitting some damn craniology, racial craniometry as well, man. But I just quickly look this shit up. Anybody can do this. I don't understand how you can be in 2024, all these smartphones and all this technology at your fingertips, and you still get bamboozled. You can look this shit up. Racial craniology persisted through the 1940s and was a major feature of Nazi Germany's race science. After the war, the race concept and the science that studied it was widely rejected. But you got identitarian groups like the online skinheads and this online white Hebrew Israelite code doing the same shit. Damn near 100 years after the fact, bro. This shit is, the whites. This shit is a shame, bro. It's a damn shame. I blame it on the Ritalin.
Especially if the lactose intolerance piece is correct, but that could perhaps be due to translations of the text or maybe a different meaning of those words once upon a time compared to their current understanding. So let's go to Ronald and have him offer a chance to reject, refute, or add different supplemental pieces on some of the aspects that Dustin just talked about there.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go straight to the facts. Now, if Europeans or Caucasians are the real Jews, and they left Israel, let's say when the Romans.
It takes 5 seconds to skip the video and also 5 seconds to save a life. Let me tell you how.
Came and sacked the Second Temple, and they fled into Europe. Basically going off of what he's saying there in Western Europe and maybe Eastern Europe and Scandinavia. So they all fled. These white Jews fled into Europe, because we know that they didn't flee into the interiors of Africa. They didn't do that. They didn't flee to China. They didn't flee to India. They didn't flee to Pakistan, Afghanistan, or the Pacific Islands. They didn't flee to the Americas. So we're assuming that they fled into Europe and the Balkans. Then we have to ask ourselves these questions. We have to ask ourselves the specific question: where did the Hebraic language go? Where did the customs of the Israelites go? Where did the oral history of them being the Israelites go? Because you have the elders and the storytellers that can pass down the oral history to the children. Where did the religion go? Okay, you might say that the Roman Empire made them convert to Christianity, and then we're gonna have to delve into the DNA, because there's a DNA support that these white people have a history of mixing with the women of Africa, the Canaanites, the Egyptians, the Cushites. Do we have that maternal DNA that shows that these Israelite Europeans today did mix with black African women many years ago? So when we look at the Europeans, yeah, they can say one region has R1B, one region has R1A, one region has G, one region has I2, one region has I1 and W and all this stuff. But when you do and you search the genetic studies of people in the British Isles or Spain and Portugal or other France and Germany and other areas, you'll see that it's not just R1B that these people have in terms of the white DNA. You'll see that just like the Jews, they have a mixture of other DNA haplogroups like R1B, R1A, I2, I1. They also have J2, J1, E1B1B, and G. But let's just go to the facts of the Bantu people in Africa. So let's just say 400 years ago, we know the history that the Europeans came into Africa, the Arabs did too, and they colonized Africa. But 400 years of dominance, slavery, and colonialism in Africa, the Bantu people still have their mother tongue, they still have their culture, they still have their oral history, and in some cases, they're still practicing the religion that they had.
Man, oh my God, man! I let them ramble and ramble and ramble and ramble and ramble on. Ron Dalton, there is no particular section of Europe where there's an I and there's a no. It's not. You should have corrected him on this, but again, you're a pseudo, so I don't expect you to. This is what haplogroups look like. This is the different ancestries. Every color represents a different major ancestry within these European populations. Look at this. It's not, look, it's clear that these men and all these countries don't all go back to the same ancestry. I have to establish that again because it was brought back up. Also, he said, oh, they all retain their Bantu language. Yeah, that's the point. If these people are Israelites, why are they speaking a Bantoid language? If they have this genetic continuity, they've always known they're Israelites, they've always been Israelites, why are they not speaking a Semitic language? Let me show y'all this real quick. Let's go to the Semitic language. Family tree, Semitic family tree. Oh, El Channel boring. I know it. You know, actually going through and combing through this shit is gonna be boring to somebody. But this is the shit you gotta do to grasp an understanding of this shit, of just coming on here and just making fucking claims. Like most you niggas do. You just get on here and make goddamn claims instead of just trying to break it, just taking your time and breaking this stuff down and digesting the material. That's y'all problem. They entertain me, nigga. No, you need to fucking learn. That's the problem. That's why we got Ron Daltons. Let me get. I wish Avery was here because I know he could pull some fast references on this. But I wanted to bring this up. I can't let this shit go. How many times we got to bring up the Bantoid language versus the Semitic language family? Let me open this image in a new tab. So this is Western Semitic, Eastern Semitic. Eastern Semitic is like Akkadian, Old Akkadian, Babylonian, and Assyrian. West Africans don't speak any of these languages. If they do speak a Semitic language, it's most likely Arabian, and it's due to the Arabian expansion or the Arab expansion that happened within the last 1,000 years or so. Has nothing to do with an ancient connection with Israelites, has nothing to do with a man named Abraham, has nothing to do with no Jacobites, no 12 tribes, no lost tribes, nothing. If they are speaking a Semitic language, it's largely due to the Arabian branch that comes from Western Semitic. Okay? then Central Semitic, Northwest Semitic, which where your Canaanites and languages come from. The word Canaanite is actually Northwestern Semitic. They're gonna argue about that. It's not Greek, it's Northwestern Semitic. Modern Hebrew, modern Aramaic languages. None of this has to do with anything to do with West African language groups. How Music says, I want to get on with Ivory if possible. Hey, I saw your message, How Music. You're welcome to come on the channel whenever you please, brother. You want to get on here and go over some information, just let me know. Boom, you can get on here. Everybody wants proof of something that never existed. Racial purity. Exactly. There is no racial purity. We're all mixed up. We're mixed bags. So now let's compare that to the Bantu language tree or Niger-Congo language tree. Oh no, let's look at Bantu, because that's a language family within itself. Let's see if I can find a language tree. I'll teach you niggas, man. What Jay Electronica said, my grandma won't leave the fucking slums. I gotta raise the slum up. All right, language. Oh man, damn y'all, I'm at the end of the show because my damn keyboard just died. I got to plug my damn keyboard up. Well, fuck it. Bantu languages, many different Bantus. Don't get a wireless fucking keyboard. You gotta remember to plug that some bitch up. I can't even type nothing, y'all. That shit is dead. Anyway, maybe if I have time tomorrow, I'll get back on here and discuss different Bantu languages, the family tree, and go more so on what Run Dalton got wrong during this exchange as well. This is something good. A good note to end on here. We brought this up before. Oh man, the image is small. God damn it. Oh, here's a bigger one. All right, so if you look at the Bantu expansion, these people carrying these Bantu languages, you see where it says 3000, 2000 BCE coming from Central Western Africa. And then from this region here, you can see them expand down into Africa. So this is incompatible with the history of Levantine Semitic speakers that live mostly in the Near East in the Levantine region. These people come from the South. They speak a different language family, they have a different culture. Yada, yada, yada. I've brought this up a million times. So that just pretty much invalidates anything Run Dalton is saying right now. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end the show. I got to charge my goddamn keyboard. I can't even type. Black Hebrew Israelites made up a language. The water's not Paleo Hebrew. That's true. But anyway, I'm out, y'all. I'm out. Black Hebrew Israelites definitely made up their own goddamn version of Hebrew. I had to cut it short tonight. It's getting late anyway. I'm going to cover some more of this video, possibly tomorrow if I got time. I'm going to catch y'all on the flip side, man. We out of here. Peace.
I'm about my fitty ball. Look here, I be on a paper chase. I'm all about my cheddar. I ain't touching the mic if it ain't 5 G's or better. I plan to never fall short. Again, I won't gain. Boy, I'ma tell you, no pain, no gain. I hustle hard for what I want, that's how I get it. I struggle hard, and if it's out there, I'm gon' get it. If you see CMR, a $sign on the CD, somewhere on there you'll see featuring the BG. Me and my nigga V, like Suge and Pop, we getting our shine on all the way to the top. Look, ain't no stopping us, boy, don't try. When you hear once, it ain't no secret you going by. You could lie about this, stunt about that. You can't die these 50 shots, I'm about to red tat. Ain't nothing changed, still a bust a wig splitter. Straight hustle for my cheese, I'm a money go get about my paper, my cheese. So before my eyes close, I want my greens to add up to 6 zeros. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, split 'em. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, kill 'em. I'm about my paper, my cheese. So before my eyes close, I want my greens to add up to 6 zeros. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, split 'em. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, kill 'em. It's all about Benjamins, that's all I wanna have. Dust off in my house with a hoe taking a bubble bath. Sparkling marble, covering all my room floors. A maid in a bathing suit doing my house chores. Do not disturb sign on my bedroom door, cause my dick getting ate by my number one whore. Look, I'm money hungry, about acting a donkey. No longer a junkie, I got rid of that monkey. I'm cheeky, I don't want you fucking with my shit. My neck and my knuckles covered with crushed out shit. Sparkling gold cover my motherfucking grill. Pockets filled with big head $100 bills. Fucking up this rap game with these wicked rap skills. And ain't far from making G's to making meals. I'm a trill BG, uptown hard hitter. On the real, my nigga, I'm a money go getter. About my paper, my cheese. So before my eyes close, I want my greens to add up to 6 zeros. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, split 'em. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, kill 'em. About my paper, my cheese. So before my eyes close, I want my greens to add up to 6 zeros. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, split 'em. Get your betty nigga, somebody try to stop you, kill 'em. Oh, I gotta get it, gotta grab it, gotta have it. Like snorting dope or snorting coke, it's a habit. I gotta see it, gotta feel it, quick to spin it. Shoot dice all day with my niggas trying to win it. I rap hustle, cause I'm a hustling ass nigga. Also a get told about busting some ass nigga. So you come play with me, about my cheese, you gotta go fool. In a casket, 6 BDs, selling tapes and CDs, like selling pick 3s. Ring up a million sales, we didn't hit the lottery. I'm a Benjamin Chaser, player hater eraser. Police have no case, cause I do murders without a trace. I'm almost at home, I didn't pass third base. I'm playing with 5 figures, but when I get 6, I'm straight. If I catch your bitch down bad, I'ma hit her. Paper chasing nigga, BG, a money go get about my paper, my cheese. So before my eyes close, I want my greens to add up to 6 zeros. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, split 'em. Get your betty nigga, somebody try to stop you, kill 'em. I'm about my paper, my cheese. So before my eyes close, I want my greens to add up to 6 zeros. Get your betty nigga, somebody play a hate, split 'em. Get your betty nigga, somebody try to stop you, kill 'em.